the shadow of missiles and ceasefires, a bold diplomatic gambit is unfolding. President Donald Trump has declared he's willing to meet with Russian President Vladimir Putin, even if Putin refuses to sit down with Ukraine's embattled leader, Volodymyr Zelenskyy. As this moment unfolds, the world watches closely. Is this a breakthrough path to peace or a dangerous sidelining of democracy amid geopolitical self-interest? On August 7th, President Trump offered clarity and controversy. When pressed by reporters whether Putin must meet Zelenskyy before meeting him, Trump responded unambiguously, "No, he doesn't." This outright dismissal of earlier US preconditions marks a dramatic shift in posture. Previously, White House officials had signaled that Putin's meeting with Zelenskyy was a requisite for any summit. But Trump stepped in, asserting he'd meet Putin regardless, with one clear aim: to stop the killing. It didn't take long for momentum to build. A Kremlin aide confirmed that talks had progressed to the point of planning a bilateral US-Russia meeting in the coming days, potentially hosted in the United Arab Emirates. Meanwhile, Trump's special envoy, Steve Witkoff, continues shuttle diplomacy in Moscow, keeping an open channel while the White House weaves together the details. Still, Ukraine's sidestepping remains a deep concern. Ukrainian officials warn that excluding Zelenskyy risks fundamentally undermining Ukraine's sovereignty and turning peace negotiations into a diplomatic sideshow. All this unfolds under the ticking clock of sanctions. The White House deadline for Russia to make peace with Ukraine is fast approaching. If progress isn't shown by Friday, sweeping secondary sanctions could be deployed, targeting not just Russia, but nations trading with it. Recovery of this fragile global order hangs in the balance. Should Trump's diplomacy succeed, it would be the first high-level US-Russia summit since his return to the White House, marking a potential pivot in the three-year conflict. Yet experts caution, bypassing Ukraine's leadership could fuel alienation in Kyiv and fracture trust among Western allies. This raises delicate questions. Can peace be brokered without Ukraine actively shaping the conversation? Will sidelining Zelenskyy embolden Russia? Or does Trump's drive reflect grim pragmatism to negotiate in any format that ends the shelling? Back home, American sentiment toward the war is evolving in complex ways. A Gallup poll now shows that 46% of Americans believe the government isn't doing enough to help Ukraine, up from earlier in the year. Yet, paradoxically, the share of Americans who consider Russia an enemy has dropped from a wartime peak of 70% in 2022 to about 50% today. This shift suggests a subtle fatigue. War weariness mingled with a desire for decisive action. People are growing impatient with half measures but also wary of endless conflict. Trump's August 8th deadline could be seen as an answer to both, a swift, dramatic attempt to end the war or at least force it into a new phase. As the world watches, Trump's willingness to meet Putin, even with Zelenskyy left in the waiting room, sets up a high-stakes showdown. Is it a breakthrough toward peace, or a reckless leap that erodes trust and prioritizes optics over justice? The clock is ticking, the war rages, and in the days ahead, diplomacy and strategy will collide with real human cost.